Greetings. Welcome to Dr. Neil's Spiritual Awakening to Non-Duality. This is Dr. Connie Zweig, and I'll be interviewing my husband who lives in spiritual awakening. You may have heard about this or read about it, but you may not know someone who lives it day to day. We'll be exploring how non-duality developed in Dr. Neil as I've observed it over 25 years, and as he directly experiences it every day. Each podcast will explore a different theme. We look forward to you joining us. Greetings. Welcome back to our podcast. Today we're going to explore non-dual love. We tend to think of love in subject-object terms. I love my husband, my son, my wife, my daughter, my dog, my house, right? Even the earth, all subject-object relationship. And today we're going to talk about Neil's experience of love in the state of non-duality, or the level of consciousness of non-duality. Okay, Dr. Neil.
Well, let me summarize human love briefly, because I think that's how most people see it. You've opened the subject. Human love exists on a number of levels. Firstly, physical love, love making. And loving can be a feeling and an action, and often is both. So the next level up, the astral level or the emotional level, where you love your spouse, you love your child, you love your parents, you love a dog or a pet. And the next step up from that is the mental aspect of love, which is you love your community, you love your family, you love your children. And then if we take one more step up, love is love of humanity, love all human beings. All of these are in a non-dual state. In other words, in a dual state, a dual state. That means that there's a person loving and a person receiving love, or they may not receive it, but if they're aware, it's there. And there are some more subtle levels of human love, like loving the planet, loving mountains, trees, flowers, loving the planet as a whole, the human journey through the planet, also subject, object, also duality. But when one starts to go past this, one discovers that love seems to be returning. What you give out seems to come back to you. So love is not just a one-way thing. It's a two-way thing. So it's good to love because you get love. But it's also on the subtle level of duality, because there's a process there where there's a giver and a receiver, even if you're the same one. And then we sort of can move on to more subtle planes. So let's move on now to more non-dual states. Non-dual states is where love pours out to itself, and there's no differentiation between self and other.
So what I'm hearing you say is love is different in different states or stages of consciousness. So the baby's love for the mother is different than the teenager's crush or the adult's romantic love or transactional love. I do this for you, so you'd give that to me. And so when you become more spiritually advanced and you experience non-duality, what is it like? What is it like for you to love me now as distinct from when we met almost 30 years ago?
Well, firstly, it's spontaneous. So it's not something that I do consciously. It's something that is there. It's something that comes out of a part of me that is empty, part of me that is filling itself up, the emptiness up. So it's love that is without beginning or end. It's love that is no source and no object. So it's not so personal as romantic love, but it's pure in the sense that it has no differentiation between people that you feel close to and people you feel distant from. So there's a love of everything, and everything loves me.
And so that level of unbounded love is present along with personal love and I suppose all the shadows and reactivity that go with the personal love. Is that correct?
Yeah, a lot of gurus and teachers and priests try to separate love into non-personal state. But in some ways, you have to have it all. Yeah, and in other words, there has to be physical love, romantic love, community love, family love, love for the humanity, love for the planet, love for the solar system, love for all beings, because that is who you are. That is who I am. I am at all those levels and more.
Are those connected to the chakras the way you described it?
Yeah, you can do it. You can say the first chakra is the physical love, and the second chakra is romantic love, sexual love. But not just sexual love, it's love making. It's romantic. The third chakra is community, family. Uh, and the fourth one is the humanity, and the fifth one is the planet. And the sixth one is self and other merging. I love my mother and she loves me, and there's a process of loving that's going on. That's a system.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in a way, so that goes back to what I said about love being different at different stages.
Yes.
Okay. So at your stage, we rarely hear about, the people who are on the bhakti path or devotional path in mystical traditions are all about loving the teacher or the saint
Right.
or the beloved. But that is still a separation.
Yes.
That is still dual
And
until the mystical union is attained.
yes, and it's kind of somewhat primitive in a way, because it's would be the second chakra. It's loving an object, loving a person. It's kind of like romantic love, but it's spiritualized. So can one have union with your guru, priest, teacher, Christ? Can one join with them? Yes, but when you join with them, you're past loving them. Your subject and object disappear. There's no subject loving, and there's no object receiving love.
Yeah, so that's the goal of those paths.
Yeah, but it doesn't. The problem with those paths, the using love of a person as a figure or a spiritual enlightened being, that form of love doesn't open up the community, the humanity, the planet, the solar system, it skips these stages and has a lot of dangers to it. It's really,
So it may spiritual bypass, it may bypass certain chakras
right,
on the way to the sixth chakra and the union.
right.
Okay. But I don't want to put down people's paths because there is a beauty and as well as a, long lineages of mystical love in Sufism and Christianity and Hinduism and even in Tibetan Buddhism. When you meditate on an object that's a god or goddess, whether incarnate or not, I mean, that exists in every tradition. So what I'm hearing you say is there's a risk in those practices to skip or bypass certain stages.
Yes, and some stages try to include them indirectly. For example, transcendental meditation, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's path. He tells people, or he did tell people, to meditate for humanity, to actually save humanity, to help humanity grow. So there's traditions that attempt to not bypass fully. Most of them are not very successful, and my experience is that I followed that path, and I had to come back to this lifetime in order to actually catch up those steps that I'd missed.
Okay,
Would you like me to explain that?
Well, I think we spoke about that in your Indian lifetime.
Yes.
But we don't want to generalize and say that those paths are bad for everyone because
they're not bad. They're spiritual paths, and they're blissful and joyful, and they take people through into community sometimes. They take people into loving community and service. And so they do have good qualities to them. But the dangers are apparent when you look at what's happening around the world with priests abusing children and gurus abusing their chelas, their devotees. So there's dangers in it because there's a lack of consciousness of the other, the human being.
So maybe they transcend without including the earlier stages. That's, I think, a way to say it. So to come back to non-dual love or loving in a non-dual stage of consciousness, what else do you want to say about that?
Well, a non-dual state means that you're in an awareness that there's no self and there's no other. You're in a state where time and space don't exist. And that's a level of awareness. So that's on the road. But there's a higher state than the non-dual state, which tends not to have any kind of feeling states in it. Might have bliss or some joy, but it doesn't seem to have love in it. Love comes after that. Love is higher than those states. Higher meaning pure love is higher than those states. And pure love is non-dual. Pure love is being love. And that being has no source or direction. It's just is.
Would you say it's a quality of consciousness?
I'd say consciousness is a quality of it.
Ah, say more of that.
Well, one cannot define it in terms of level because once one attains a sense of non-duality or subject and object, there's nobody home. There's no earth, there's no mother, there's no father, those are all constructs of consciousness, and consciousness is a construct of love. So these are very subtle states that go beyond broad non-duality states. And one can also talk about other states that are similar, like well-being and bliss and joy and kindness. These are states that have no subject or object, or can have no subject or object, unless one goes down to the human level. And then we can say, I'm joyful because, and have a reason.
So before we called those qualities of consciousness. And now what I'm hearing is love supersedes consciousness. It's not a quality of it. Consciousness is a quality of love.
Right.
So is love in some way divine?
Yes. Divinity, love is divinity. It's the nature of the deity, the God nature. But we're also part of that God nature. So it's a level of consciousness where we become connected deeply with the nature of God or divine.
Okay, so let's go through sort of these levels of love
Okay.
in our relationship so people get an example of how this is lived, the lived reality of non-dual love. Okay, so we met and there was a subject and object
Yes.
with a recognition. And we recognized a soul connection.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a persona relationship, even from the beginning. Okay. And then we recognized the third body. We called it the weenus.
Yes. The body that exists between the two of us. It's another body.
Okay. And then,
So we moved from the excitement of romantic love to include spiritual romantic love. What I was saying before, that romantic love can be spiritual too, can have a spiritual element. How do we move from there? How do we move from romantic spiritual love for each other to just loving each other? How was it for you?
well, I don't live in your level of consciousness, but I can say that love is more than a feeling. Love is. Love is as a state between us. But see, they're still in us.
Yeah,
So
I, a you, and an us. That's duality.
right.
So yeah. So non-dual love would be love where there's no self, no other. It just is this thing called love. And it does not it exists in terms of each other, but it transcends that, transcends self and other. So right at this moment, I'm experiencing a deep sense of love. And where would that come from? It doesn't come from the body. It doesn't come from the emotions. It doesn't come from the mind. It doesn't come from the ego. It doesn't come from the soul. It's bigger than that. It doesn't come from the divine as a separate being, as a separate existence. It has no beginning. It is there for everything and everybody without limit. And everything is for it without limit, without beginning, without end. So the sense of duality, where I love you or you love me, and we love each other, and we have an us, the third body, is transcended in non-dual love.
And even the soul level, even our memories of past lives together, even the soul level is transcended.
Right. So when I look at you, I see God. So you are the divine being that recognizes the divine being in me. That divinity is manifesting itself without beginning, without end, without self or other. It's kind of like God loving God or self-loving self, but there's nobody home.
Okay. Anything else to add about this moment?
It's very difficult for most people to understand this form of love, this stage, let's call it of love. because we are so caught in the physical love, or the romantic love, or the love of our children,
or the roles,
or the roles in our community, loving God or Jesus.
As other, God as other.
As other, Jesus. So we're so caught up in the notion of being saved or being enlightened that we don't recognize that there is nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go but to have the experience of love without beginning or end. There's nowhere to go but to recognize that you are loved. You are loved without beginning or end. And you are part of this flow.
Well, even to say you are loved is receiving.
Well, you don't have to receive it. It's just, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It is without beginning and it is without end. It's not even personal. Who are you? You are empty. You are full. You are everything. So when we say you are loved, it's not the same as personal love, where there's an identity and an ego or a soul. You are loved as everything without beginning or end. And you love without beginning or end and without a self or another.
And do you have any suggestions for how to open out into this for our listeners?
I think there's steps or stages in spiritual growth. So I think the first big one is to be everywhere and to open up the awareness of oneself as being part of everything. And then the awareness should or can pass to being nothing and everything being empty. And that sets the ground for pure love, where one is that, and that is who you are. And there's no beginning or end. There's no ego.
So the love arises out of the emptiness.
The love arises out of the emptiness, but emptiness arises out of love. You're looking at beginning and end here, and what comes first and what comes second.
That's like consciousness or love, emptiness or love.
Right. But there's one thing that I do recognize is that this consciousness, this state of pure love transcends emptiness, transcends fullness, transcends duality, and lifts one up to a more very ecstatic level. So right now I'm in ecstasy.
So you're saying that love is a priori. Love comes first.
Yes, like saying in the beginning there was God, and God was love. And that's the nature of the being who is the creator of this cosmos, this universe. The 83 cosmoses, and the one that created this is in essence is love. That's its nature. And we are intrinsic to it. We are here as part of that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Neil.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in today. If you found our discussion insightful, there's a good chance your friends will too. And we'd love it if you could take a moment to share this episode with a friend who you believe would appreciate it. Help us spread the word and reach more people. And follow us on any platform. Turn on your episode notifications so you never miss new content. Thanks for being part of our podcasting journey.